Peace and blessings to the 12 tribes of Israel. Today I'm going to deal with a Bible study called Naked Wife and Shamed Husband. Naked wife and shamed husband. So a lot of people have seen the pictures of Sierra with, I think her husband is called Russell. Something Russell. And basically she has been parading, her and her husband have been parading for the cameras. They have been taking pictures for the cameras, and she is literally wearing next to nothing. She's wearing next to nothing, and she's wearing a G-string. So she has on a dress, and it's a completely see-through dress, and pretty much a lot is not left to the imagination, right? So she's basically showing off her curves, and she's basically has a G-string, and you know it's very, very ungodly and very, very disrespectful to your husband, and also it also portrays an image of someone that has a very, very low respect for her husband, and she doesn't give a damn what other people think about her and her husband. Now, men are looking at these pictures and thinking, wow, she's very bold to actually go out with your husband looking like that. That's a very bold person. And a lot of men are looking at it going, why would you shame your husband like that? Why would you disrespect your husband like that? Why would you show the whole world that your husband is a simp and is too weak to tell you no? Right? Now, let's go into these scriptures, because clearly that is wrong, right? You do not, when you are a woman in general, regardless to if you're single or married, you do not wear provocative clothes. You clearly don't do that. But when you are married, you already have a husband, you literally don't walk out of your house with your husband looking like a prostitute, right? Looking like a whore, right? Looking cheap, because then it makes him look bad as your husband. Now, let's go into a few scriptures. So let's go to Leviticus 18. So we're going to go to Leviticus 18, and we're going to read from 1 to 9. So the name of the Bible share is Naked Wife and Shamed Husband. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein you dwelt, shall you not do, and after the doings of the land of the Canaanites, whither I bring you, shall you not do, neither shall you walk in their ordinances. So what the Lord was saying after he brought us out of Egypt, he brought Israel out of Egypt, he said, you shall not continue in their customs. And the Canaanites, I don't want you continuing their customs either. Right? You must continue in my customs, right? So let's continue. You shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. So the Most High was trying to stamp his authority on the children of Israel. Also, what you take from these verses is that the Lord sees himself as our husband, as Israel's husband. So therefore, in order for him to have a marriage, a healthy marriage, he needs to tell his wife what he needs to stamp his authority on his wife, right? So when a man marries, before he gets married to the woman, he tells the woman, this is my likes and dislikes. And when he is married to the woman, he further tells her what he wants and what he doesn't want, because now she is effectively his. She's now living with her husband. Right? So the Most High, who sees Israel as being his wife, was stamping his authority on Israel. In order to do that, he gave us laws to follow. Right? The same way, if you marry a wife, you say, this is what I want and this is what I definitely don't want. So there is a line of which you are not allowed to cross. When a woman starts usurping your authority and starts acting like this in public, it means that she has no respect for you. She sees you as being weak and a simp. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. So here is the bit that I really wanted to get to, because this whole chapter is talking about fornication, right? So it's going through the various levels of fornication, and the Lord is saying you must not do those things, right? So it says, ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. So that word nakedness means literally that, naked, right? But what that word naked insinuates is sex, because in order to have sex, you need to be naked, right? Two people come together naked and they have sex. Both people have to be naked. Otherwise, you won't be able to have sex. Whether you go all the way naked or part way naked, you have to be naked, right? To have sex, right? So it's saying, so let's continue. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother, thou shalt not uncover thy nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover, it is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, thy daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or abroad, or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. So nakedness is associated with sex or fornication. So let's carry on. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of the daughter's daughter, even the nakedness of thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife, daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister, she is thy father's near kinsman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinsman. Okay, so it goes on and on talking about nakedness. So the whole point of reading this is to say that you are not supposed to show your nakedness to everybody. Your nakedness is reserved for your husband, because when the Bible talks about nakedness in this respect, it's literally talking about sex, right? So you're taking off your clothes to be sexual with someone, to have sex with that person, right? So when you uncover their nakedness, you are actually having sex with that person, right? That's two people naked coming together. One person who's walking around naked, she is showing off her body because she's trying to look for sex, right? So let's now go to 1 Timothy 2. So we're now going to go to 1 Timothy 2. Tell you what, before we go to 1 Timothy 2, let's go to Leviticus 19:28. So we're going to stay in Leviticus and we're going to go to Leviticus 19:29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. So it's saying, do not prostitute thy daughter. So you don't prostitute your daughter. So that goes into the daughters of Zion. To cause her to be a whore. So you don't prostitute the sisters. Lest the land fall to whoredom. Because if you, like for instance now, women are walking around wearing next to nothing. I mean, this is the culture these days. And what is happening at the moment? Sex is rampant. Everybody's having sex. You know, even married people are having sex with other people. Because adultery and fornication has become a norm. People are numb to it. You know, people don't even think about it. They just do it and just brag about it afterwards, right? So it says, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. So when you have a land full of fornication and adultery, and when you're prostituting your daughter, i.e. you're having sex with the daughters of Zion, and then you're having sex with her and leaving her, you're causing the land to to go to whoredom, because what you're doing is that you're fueling the whoredom. That spirit of whoredom, you're fueling it. Because think about it, if you have sex with a woman and then you move on from that woman and you say, well, it's not really what I want. And then you move on to another woman and another woman and another woman. Then what you're doing is you're causing the land to be full of whoredom. And when the land is full of whoredom, it is defiled. Right? Okay. So let's now go to 1 Timothy 2. So let's go into the New Testament. So we read in 1 Timothy 2. And we're going to read from 9 to 12. So we're now going to deal with how a woman in general and a wife is supposed to conduct themselves in terms of the way they look and behave and their behavior, right? In like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, right? So it's saying that a woman should adorn herself with modest apparel, with shamefacedness. Shamefacedness means that you are of a lowly spirit. You're not trying to be the queen of the night. You're trying to be as low key as possible, as humble as possible. So it says, in like manner, also the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety. Sobriety means that you need to be in your natural sense. You can't be drunk and you can't be crazy. All emotional and just going crazy at people, snapping at people like you're some rabid dog, right? So it says you're supposed to have sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. So that goes into don't go over the top in terms of trying to show yourself, right? Don't do all these things for attention. Right, so don't go around wearing next to nothing. Don't go to the Oscars party being naked and wearing a see-through gown or dress or whatever you want to call it, right? Because that goes into you're trying to get attention, right? So that's what that's talking about. So it says, like manner also, the women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. So don't bring attention to yourself, but which become it women professing godliness. So if you professing to be a Christian, or you'll say, well, I believe in God and I pray and, I'm a Christian, and, you do all the Christianese that Christians do, which is, well, what Christians do, right? They claim they love the Lord, but once the Bible gets open and the truth comes out, they scatter like cockroaches. They don't want to hear it. They resist the truth because they don't like hearing the truth, right? So it says, but which become it women professing godliness. So godliness is associated with you being low key, dressing low key, dressing nice, but dressing in humility, covering yourself properly. You don't have to wear 7 pounds of makeup. You don't have to wear like extremely long, stupid fingernails. Things like that. You don't need to be wearing a golden gown. Just so that everyone can look at you and say, oh, wow, look at that sister. She's so cute in that gold gown, right? So the Bible is saying that you must have humility, right? Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. So the Bible says, let the woman learn in silence. So the natural nature of a woman should be silence, quietness, right? That's why a woman's voice is soft and sweet, very, very soft. A man's voice is boo, 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 very, very loud, very aggressive in its sound, in its tone. But a woman's voice naturally is sweeter, is softer, because she's quieter, because that quietness and that shamefacedness is associated with femininity, right? So it says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, by suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp the authority over the man, but to be in silence. A woman is not supposed to teach a man like she's the head. She's supposed to accept instructions from her husband, from men in general, but her husband, right? And it says, I suffer not a woman to teach or to usurp the authority over the man, but to be in silence. So when you have a husband, you're not supposed to dominate your husband. If your husband says, I don't want you going out of the house looking like that, you wearing a see-through gown, you wearing a G-string, everyone can see the shape and look of your vagina, shape and look of your curves, shape and look of your breasts, I don't like it. Now, what we read in Leviticus was that the nakedness was not the only nakedness that you need to be showing is to your spouse. So a husband shows his nakedness to his wife, and his wife shows her nakedness to her husband. So that's the only nakedness. That's the only people that's supposed to be seeing your nakedness, right? So let's now go to 1 Peter 3, and we're going to read from 1 to 6. So let's continue the modest apparel. So we're reading 1 Peter 3, and we're reading from 1 to 6. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection. So Peter is saying exactly the same thing as was said in Timothy. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if they obey not the word, they also may, without the word, be won by the conversation of the wives. Right? So a woman must be obedient to the word of God, right? So that she has a good reputation amongst all the other wives, right? While they behold her chaste conversation coupled with fair. So her chaste conversation goes into, the conversation is not gossip, right? It's not about who's sexing who, right? It's good, holy, clean conversation. Coupled with fair. The fair goes into the fear of the Lord, right? So the fear of the Lord, right? So if you're a woman and you fear the Lord, your conversation is going to be, you're going to be able to bridle your tongue, and you're going to be able to know when to talk and when not to talk, when to be in silence. Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaited of the hair, and of wearing of gold, and of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God a great price. So the Lord is saying you put more value, not so much in being the center of attention by looking the sexiest, right, or the cutest, but you put more value in your behavior, your inner man. Right? So it says, but let it be the hidden man of the heart. That's your inner man. That's your heart. In that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit. So this is femininity, having a meek and a quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God a great value. So having a meek and a quiet spirit is a great value to the Lord, right? The Lord can do a lot with you because you are basically your marriage material, right? No man wants to marry a motor mouth. No man wants to marry a loud mouth. No man wants to marry a woman that is dominating him. No man wants to marry an argumentative, combative woman, right? Those are not traits of a wife. Those are traits of a whore, right? Someone that goes around sleeping around with various men, right? 5. For after this manner, so this is the bit that I really want to get to, that I think a lot of Christians miss. But after this manner, in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in the Lord adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. So let's read it again. For after this manner, right? So that's quietness of spirit, and in terms of the dress sense. In the old time, the holy women also who trusted in the Lord. So the holy women, how did the holy women look? How did they dress? How did they behave? Adorn themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. So there's a few things going on there, because it says the holy women of old, not the holy men, but the holy women, right? And we know that in the Old Testament, breeches, which were trousers, were given to men. So we know that trousers is for a man and the dress is for the woman. So when it says holy women of old, it's talking about in terms of the way the women dressed, right? So that covers clothes that are not overtly sexual and clothes that are not masculine, right? So that it covers those two things, right? Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Right, so I'm not going to go further with that, but it's giving you an example of Sarah and the way how she treated Abraham with respect, and she called him Lord, which is a respectable head. That is the way how you're supposed to be treating your husband, right? So when Sierra goes out and she goes to her husband, this is what I'm going to wear. And let's say we're in their house and the husband goes, well, I really don't like you wearing that, Sierra. I really don't like it. I just don't feel good when you do that. And she goes, well, I'm going to wear it anyway. Who the hell do you think you are? You're not my father. Right? Is that righteous? No, it's not righteous. Right? And only a simp allows his wife to go outside, never mind a Oscars party or whatever they call it, right, where the whole world is looking at her, but only a simp allows his wife to go outside of the house looking like that, because that is really disgusting. It's disrespectful, right? And it shows how weak this man is, right? So the important things that I wanted to take from that was meekness, humility, and holy women of old. Not holy men, but holy women of old. So the clothes that you're wearing should be sexually appropriate, right? Which means that you're not going to be wearing anything sexually explicit. You're going to be wearing clothes that are modest, right? And clothes that are gender appropriate, because the holy women of old, right? The holy women of old didn't wear trousers. They wore skirts and dresses, right? So we're reading Hebrews 13 and we're reading 4. Marriage is honourable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge, right? So marriage is honourable. It's an honourable thing for a man to come together and marry a woman, right? To have to uncover her nakedness. It's a very honourable thing. In all, and the bed undefiled. So the bed is undefiled, it's fine. A man and a woman coming together, you know, that's what they're supposed to do, right? Is to come together and have sex. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. But if you are whoremonger and adulterer, so in other words, you're having sex with other people or doing things that are fornication in nature, then it means that the Lord will judge you, because you're not supposed to be seeing anybody else's nakedness but your spouse. So if you're single, you're not supposed to be looking at anybody else's nakedness. And if you are married, you're not supposed to be looking at anybody else's nakedness but your husband or your wife. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, some things you can't avoid looking at because they're there. But the Bible says that we're not supposed to kind of meditate, or if we think that something is going to tempt us, then we need to remove that thing from us, right? We need to take that thing away from us, right? Or remove yourself from that situation, right? So that it doesn't tempt you, right? It doesn't pull you into lust, right? Or don't give that woman that is half naked, don't give her a second look, you know, that kind of thing, you know. And sometimes you get to a point where you see a woman naked and it just turns your stomach, because that's not your wife. You just get irritated by it because you know how lust can be and how it works, and you don't want to be pulled back into that lifestyle, that way of doing life, right? Because when you are lust filled, the only way is down, because now you defile your holy temple, right? And the Lord doesn't like that, right? So the Lord will judge whoremongers and those people that are married and are going in public with next to no clothing, The Lord will judge such a woman that does that. But the Lord will also judge such a man that is proudly taking pictures with his wife wearing next to nothing. The Lord will judge him too. Because what that shows us is that he is weak, right? And he's so weak that he can't see how shameful his stance as a man is in that relationship, right? You do not allow your wife, and I say allow, because I know a lot of people would have a problem with a man saying allow your wife. Well, you're controlling. Well, I see you're very abusive. Oh, you're very insecure. Oh, you're misogynist. Because you said that word allow, you see. A man should not allow, obviously you can't force someone to do something that they don't want to do, but you should not be proudly posing in pictures with a woman who is your wife, showing the whole world her nakedness, because you now are encouraging fornication, right? And you now are showing the whole world that you have a Ahab spirit, and an Ahab spirit is a spirit that needs his wife to tell him what to do. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to end it there. Peace and blessings. Shalom.